This, I guess I'm gonna vlog, but I don't know if it's ever even gonna make it into a public video at least. Because honestly, I don't know if YouTube's gonna allow it. But I'm making great decisions in my life, and I have decided to get my tongue split. And I am a couple hours away from heading up to Savannah, Georgia to get that done. Well, technically I'm getting it done tomorrow, but gonna go check into a hotel for the night. And yeah, I am, say I'm nervous is an understatement. I'm excited, but I'm very nervous. I've wanted this done ever since I saw, I think it was on like Ripley's Believe It or Not, they had like the Lizard Man or whatever, like years ago, before I even wanted tattoos and shit. I saw that you could cut your tongue in half and have a lizard tongue, and I was like, I want that. And for a while I had a hard time finding any real information on how to get it done, and then I was just kind of, nervous because it is, a pretty major thing to do. But finally going to actually get it done, assuming everything goes to plan going up there. So yeah, from what I've been told, like the first 3 or 4 days suck after getting it done, that you're just in a lot of pain and not doing much of anything. I have a whole week off from work, so hopefully that'll be enough. Hopefully by the time I need to go back, I can talk relatively normally, but we will see how this all goes, I guess. Just weird thinking in like 24 hours I'm gonna have 2 tongues instead of 1.
All right, so it's day 8, and this is where I'm at. I sound terrible. If I can talk, I actually woke up yelling fuck because I thought I was late for work. So, proves my body knows I can talk. I just gotta practice doing it with 2 tongues now. I haven't really wanted to talk before today. Like, it just felt better to keep my mouth shut. Yeah, from other people's videos, I thought the first bit of drooling, like first few days, was the worst for drooling. But for me, it hit like after day 3. So, like now I'm just like finally getting over that stage, so I can feel like I can open my mouth without like goo falling out. All right, it's like a day and a half after that last clip, and got my stitches out today. I was supposed to be able to take out some of the stitches way earlier, but I was having a lot of trouble doing it myself, so I had my friend help me out with it today. It's nice. It doesn't hurt quite so much when I try to talk, because there's nothing like pulling inside my mouth anymore, which is great. I do keep biting the tips of my tongue, specifically this side. Like, I keep hitting it. Obviously, my voice still sounds awful, but it's definitely getting better. It's just gonna say practice, I think. But it sounds, a lot better to me, at least, at this point. It's just annoying, honestly. So I still can't move them individually. I know that it takes time and practice, so I'm going to be working on that, along with talking normally. But, yeah, it's different, man. Like, my tongue was so swollen the first few days that it was kind of hard to even know, like, my mouth just felt like it was full of stuff. Whether it's my own swollen tongue or drool or whatever. And then, once that went down, like the other day, I could feel the stitches. They were pretty obvious. Like, I could feel them rubbing against each other when I talked. I could feel them, like, the longer ones in the back kind of, like, brushing around my mouth. It was a really gross feeling. And now that they're out, I just keep feeling my tongues sliding against each other, which is a very odd sensation. So, like, I'm sure, like, in a month I won't even notice it, but right now it's just very like I don't know how to describe it. It's an odd sensation. It's just like, it's like you're licking your own tongue. That's all I can describe it as. It's really weird. I'm hoping this will clear up. I'll get better at talking. I can hear at times, like, I say words and it sounds fine, and it's almost like I try to focus on, okay, keep that going, and then it gets worse. But I got Spookella this weekend, hopefully Howl-O-Scream, and I'd like to be able to do videos on those without sounding like a complete idiot, so we will see. So at this point, I got other videos I want to make,
and I know I'm gonna still be sounding a little goofy in those, so I kind of want to get this video out first as an explaining of why I'm gonna sound weird. So while I would kind of preferably want to wait a couple more days to get more used to talking before filming like a full-on wrap-up of this, I'm gonna go ahead and just shoot this now because I kind of need to just get it done. So I'm currently sitting at day 12. I feel like I could talk a lot better than I was, especially earlier in the week when I still had the stitches in. Definitely certain words that are hard, different sounds like the CH and N's and like L's. Like I was trying to say the word religious the other day, and that just came out a lot cleaner than it did yesterday because I was fumbling all over that word the other day. Let's kind of give a quick overview. Process itself, basically, he took a scalpel, he cut my tongue web first, and then cut my tongue, and then stitched it all back up. I was having some issues with just cooperating, I guess. So I know the process usually takes him a very short amount of time. He said like 30 minutes maximum. I know it took a little, probably closer to that with me, but I think usually he actually does it a lot faster than that is my impression. So I do have a picture of it right after it was done. And I was up there with my buddy Rob and his girlfriend, so we went, kind of walked around a little bit and headed back home. We stopped at a grocery store on the way, and I got a bag of peas to use as like an ice pack around my neck, because like down here it just swells like a motherfucker. That, honestly, out of this whole thing, that was where I got the most pain at all. So I had that on my neck as we were driving home. I also took some liquid Tylenol, and that kind of dulled things for a while. My plan was to use that along with ibuprofen, which is what was recommended to me, thinking that the liquid would be easier to swallow and all that stuff. I can only find ibuprofen in tablets. But I abandoned the Tylenol like a day or two in because the ibuprofen worked so much better for me. And in prep for this, I watched a lot of like videos people posted about their own process and read up and all that stuff. And I thought for sure I was going to be just in pain and drooling and gross for days and days and days. And while I was in pain and it was gross, and I really don't recommend going through with it unless you really want it, it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like on a 1 to 10 pain scale, I don't think I got past a 4. And I know that's not normal. But I basically just lived on the couch for several days. I wanted to be on the couch because I could sit up easier, and I didn't want to risk like choking on all the crap in my mouth. I could talk a little bit immediately after, but by the time we got home, like 2 or 3 hours after, I probably could have kind of talked, but I didn't want to. I basically didn't really talk for about a week. I think it was actually on the following Saturday, a week later, that I actually started trying to say things again. Most people I've seen talk about how day 3 usually seems to be like the point, like people have the most pain, the most horrible effects of it. For me, it came a little bit later. I really didn't have a lot of pain the first few days. I would, especially when it was time to take more ibuprofen, I would notice my throat getting a little more swollen again. So I usually ice that as well. I actually ended up like wearing one of my cosplay costume gloves and holding it to my neck so that I could hold on longer without just like freezing my hands off. Really, I just sat around and watched TV. I couldn't really eat at all. I tried eating smoothies. I tried eating like broth, things like that. I could a little bit. It was very slow. Applesauce ends up being the thing that was easiest for me. But the part that I didn't consider with all this is that while you're doing this, as your tongue heals, it kind of like sheds almost a little bit. So there's just like a bunch of mucus and crap in your mouth. And I was doing my best to swallow everything because that was what was recommended to keep from dehydrating instead of just drooling like a lot of people do. I just didn't want to eat anything that had the same consistency as this crap that was in my mouth that was so gross. So like, not the best thing, but I really just didn't eat for several days. I would drink some water, get a little bit of stuff, but like I bought a smoothie, I took one sip of it and I couldn't touch it again. Day like 4 and 5 were probably the worst for me. That was where I was just drooling a lot. Like there was a lot more liquid going on in my mouth or gunk in my mouth. It smelled really terrible as well. I was brushing my teeth with like a soft brush with no toothpaste and like brushing my tongue as well with it as much as I could, trying to avoid the center where it hurt. Also using a alcohol-free mouthwash, but it's still like, it stunk. It was gross. I think I texted one of my friends partway through. I'm like, there's 2 things I'm looking forward to: eating a good meal and brushing my teeth for real.
On about day 6, I kind of felt like I was at a breaking point, and I ended up just going to Starbucks and getting a caramel apple spice, which I now realize has dairy in it, which you're not supposed to do dairy, but I was kind of desperate at that point. And that like made me feel human again for a little bit. So like that was great. And like day 6, I managed to eat like a little bit of rice. But day 7, I actually managed to like go get. I was out with a friend. We went to Panera and I got some mac and cheese. So that was like easy enough to still like eat. Like I didn't really have to chew it as much, though I did, and then bit my tongue really hard. That hurt. That was just great, being able to eat real food. And kind of from that point, I was able to, you know, ramp up a little bit more, eat more real stuff. Obviously being careful, not wanting to get a bunch of stuff stuck in the stitches. Anytime I eat, I pretty much immediately go and like rinse my mouth out, brush my teeth, all that stuff, to try to prevent anything from getting in there stuck and getting infected or just being gross. After like I think 5 days or so, my artist basically gave me approval to take the front 2 stitches out, one on each side, and a couple days after to do 2 more. I couldn't do it. I bought the little suture removal kit. I tried to get them out myself, and I was just too shaky to pull it off. I'd never be able to get a good enough grip on the knot of the suture to be able to get the cutters underneath it. I just felt like I was going to just chop my own tongue off again, more. And that's not what I wanted to do. That's what I was trying to fix. So thankfully, I have a friend who used to be a piercer, has experience removing stitches from a tongue split. So he gave me a different kit to buy with different tools in it. And I brought that to him, and he was able to help me take them all out. So he removed all the stitches for me. So I think I would have had a little more relief even earlier on in the process if I'd been able to do it myself. But I kind of just let it all wait. And then I guess it would have been day like 10 that I took them out. I don't think that's a bad thing though, because I wasn't in a whole lot of pain. It was uncomfortable, but not terrible. And from what I've heard, like the back stitch is like the most critical one to prevent like regrowth. So, you know, I want this to stay as split as possible. So hopefully having those sit in there for a little while longer will help to make sure that was healed, and I don't have to do this ever again. So at this point, I really can't do anything cool with it. I definitely can't control either side independently. I know that takes a long time. Everything I've watched people say, it takes a lot of practice, and I'm still just trying to work on talking without a lisp. And I can do it sometimes, and then I get lazy. Like I get into the process of talking, and it gets sloppier and sloppier. See, even there, like I caught the first S was bad, and I caught the second one, and I could like, okay. So like right now I have to think a lot more about talking than I usually do. Also, it's kind of tiring. Like, I never thought I feel like my tongue was worn out, but it feels like the more I've been talking, I was just on meetings for work and stuff earlier today, and the more I talk, the more I'm like I feel like my tongue is heavy. The other weird thing is because you cut the tongue web, and mine was pretty restrictive, so like now my tongue moves way more than it used to, and I'm not sure what's because it's split and what's because that's gone. So it's a different sensation just entirely. Also right now, like the tips of my tongue are kind of numb, I guess. I think what happened was as my tongue was swelling, it was pressing against my teeth, both on the sides and in the front. The sides of my tongue are almost like scallops. You can see the impressions of my teeth on them. And because I've bitten the tips of them, and they were also just pressed against my teeth, and at points like resting between my teeth because it wouldn't fit in my mouth well enough. I think they're just going to need a little more time to heal fully. Like the suture or the slit is done. The cut from the split is healed, but just they're banged up basically. Yeah, I can't do anything cool with it yet, but I'm going to try to learn. This is kind of crazy to be on the other side of this, because for so long, like since I was a teenager, I wanted this mod, and I knew it was going to suck. I, had partners that weren't into the idea of it, so I held off because I didn't want to gross them out. Just always reasons not to do it. But I'm like so excited that it is finally done, and like, I've been watching videos and seeing other people with split tongues for so long and like really obsessing over the idea of it. And now I'm on the other side, like going back to those videos, like I was paying attention to the healing process before, but now I'm like, oh cool, like how did they learn to do cool things? How did they overcome the stupid lisp thing? So it's exciting to kind of be on this side of it. And while it means the rest of my Halloween vlogs are probably going to sound really dumb, I'm very excited to have had it done and like be past the worst of it now. I mean, even if it had to be resplit, if it had regrowth at this point, like even that's supposed to be not nearly as bad as what I've already done. So I've done the hard part. I always feel like with like tattoos and piercings and stuff that like I never own them until they're healed. And while I wouldn't consider this fully healed at this point because I'm still working on things, it's close enough that like I feel like it's finally mine now. So that's really exciting to me. So yeah, I'm going to call this one here and wait for YouTube to suppress this video for being too gross. But I'm sure it's probably going to happen. But I'll see y'all next time. Later.